Hello and welcome to Die Bundesliga show. Technical difficulties there. This is my first time actually hosting on StreamYard. So, you know what? If it goes wrong, meh. Right. Yeah, exactly. Meh. So, obviously, it's me, Devo, and welcome to the Football Dugout, Die Bundesliga show. We have Gav Mack from Two Up Top Football Podcast.
What's good?
You good?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right.
And we have Flo Wolfram. Is that correct?
Exactly. That's correct.
Is not great. Yeah.
Your pronunciation is great. I love it. I would like my pronunciation in English to be as good as yours in German is.
It is. It is. Don't sell yourself short, man.
Flo, you just sound like someone from up north or something like that. Your English is a lot better than a lot of people from the UK, so I won't worry too much about that.
Well, I've been to Newcastle and I couldn't understand a single jolly word. So
yeah, me too. Me too. So is everyone else. Right. So how's everyone doing? How's everyone's weekend? Did you enjoy a good weekend of football viewings, whether in Germany or England or wherever else?
I had a good time with the NFL, but not with club football in the UK. That's all I'm saying. You know, Germany, the Bundesliga was wonderful, but the Premier League didn't. It hurt me a lot this week.
But you shouldn't be too harsh to your club because you played against the best club in the world yesterday or 2 days ago with Arsenal. Yeah. So
yeah, to be fair, I all I wanted is not to be embarrassed, and I don't think we embarrassed ourselves.
But Devo, I believe you don't know. I told Gav many times I'm a huge Liverpool supporter.
Oh yeah,
the club.
Yeah, I never told you that.
But I was before club, before club arrived. So I also I believe when it really catched me was in 2005.
They were even worse before Klopp because they were rubbish and still
they were really rubbish.
They were the best team in the world. So they was even worse. At least now they could back it up. I don't mind when they talk.
But in Germany, I was like a football hipster in school when I was saying, okay, in England, I'm not a United fan or a Chelsea fan, I'm a Liverpool fan. Everyone was looking at me and was like, what's wrong with you? And nowadays, all the kids are Scousers, and I'm like, you're a Liverpool fan, okay, because Jürgen Klopp is there. No, I was before, shut up.
All right, guys, so we're going to get this kicked off. We're going to move on to our first game. But before we do that, guys, please make sure that you're following us on the socials. They're running along the bottom of the screen. You can see that on Twitter. You have Devo LDN, that's me. TFB Dugout, that's who I represent. Gav Mac 23, that's Gav in the middle. And Two Up Top Football, which is who he represents. So please go ahead and follow those, and also follow us on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel, both channels, Two Up Top Football, and obviously the Football Dugout. Okay, so we're going to go into our first game. Which is Mainz versus Stuttgart. Okay, and a bit of a good game there. Mainz, not too good for them, but Stuttgart, a great start to the season, having just come up from Bundesliga 2. Is that right? Bundesliga 2?
Bundesliga 2?
Yeah, usually you switch it. We say it's like Zweite Bundesliga.
Zweite
Bundesliga.
Exactly.
Okay. I actually knew that as well. That really annoys me that I knew that and I said it wrong.
All right, so yeah, Mainz losing 4-1 at home to Stuttgart. They've now conceded 7 in their first 2 games, Mainz, which is not a good start to the season. Was anyone surprised by this result? I'll come to you first, Gav. Were you surprised at all by this result?
The manner of the result, yes. The actual result, no. Mainz have been having a bit of a bad time. They were lucky to survive last season as well. They were hanging around the relegation zone for a lot of the time. Stuttgart, they're back into the big time, so they're going to want to try and impress. But I didn't expect them to be running out 4-1 winners, not at all. And it showed. And Mainz have parted ways with their gaffer now as well.
Yeah. I was just going to come on to that. So forgive me if I get this wrong. Bielsa, is that the correct pronouncement? I'm not sure. He's now been sacked.
Bayerlotzer.
There you go.
He's from Austria. The pronunciation is even worse than in Germany.
I'm so glad you're here, Flo. I'm so glad you're here because I'll just be murdering names.
You have to call him Smith for the purpose of the conversation here. John Smith got sacked, right?
Yeah, Smith got sacked. But I hear there's a lot of turmoil at Mainz. You was telling us in the WhatsApp group. If you just want to explain that for the viewers.
Yeah, exactly. That's also a reason why I wasn't surprised that this was such a massive win for Stuttgart, because during the week before the match there was a strike in the training session. The Mainz players striked and didn't want to do a Thursday afternoon training because their striker Adam Salai was sacked from the team or was banned from the team. Although he played like 10 days before in the first round of the cup for Mainz and scored an important goal against a lower league club. And there was a huge trouble and huge discussion about that strike because it was only the second time in German football history that a professional team striked. The first time was in the 80s, I believe, middle of the 80s in Nuremberg. And back then, the club sacked all the players or the most important players who striked. Mm-hmm. This time, Mainz did otherwise. They sacked the coach. And still the reasons for the strike are not really clear for everyone because the players didn't want to say anything after the match. They were very short in the interviews, in the post-match interviews. And I was watching some football discussion rounds in the TV on Sunday. And there was the agent of Adam Salai was speaking, and it's still not clear why Mainz wanted to ban Salai from the team training. No, he was an accepted player in the club. Okay, he might be a little bit expensive with his wages because he's like 28. He's captain of the Hungarian national team. He is he's quite skilled. He has a good contract, but there was no good reason for that strike or for that ban from the player. So still
politics.
All the spectators and fans are uncertain at the moment, especially because Mainz is a club which is always like very sympathetic, which never has any problems. Everything's quite nice around them. Everything is pink, so never. That's the home club from Jürgen Klopp.
Yeah.
And if you imagine Klopp as a club, it's Mainz. So they fitted so extremely good together.
Yeah.
It was like a whole happy area. I don't know.
Klopp has got some fire in him. So maybe that's what Mainz have just discovered, the fire in their bellies. But let's move on to Stuttgart because it's a brilliant win for them, 4-1 away from home. They've got some on-form players. I'm not going to try and pronounce his surname, but I'm going to call him
Gatuka.
That's the one.
Hey, look,
we just call him Silas. We just say first name. We just say Silas.
He is 20 years old and he scored 3 in his last 3 games as well. He is loving life. He's so unorthodox. Not just him as well. Kalahajdzic as well. Very unorthodox. He's like 6'7". Yeah.
6'7". Jesus.
Yeah, he's a big boy. But it's not just that. Yeah, but it's just like Peter Crouch. He is very good with the ball at his feet as well. He's not just a big lump that he got to whack crosses in so he could get on the end of it. And that's what I love about him. He's very mobile and he's very tidy. He can pick a pass, he can shoot, he can do a lot of stuff. And I think Stuttgart are going to be all right.
Yeah.
I've always problems when you're measuring heights with foot. We don't know that.
You do meters.
I'll tell you what, Flo, he's 2 meters.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
He's just a tiny little bit taller than I am. Maybe
and
1 or 2 foot.
a lot taller than me.
A hell of a lot taller than me. But we won't go down that road. Let's not be self-deprecating. It doesn't matter about height. Who cares?
We're all laying down.
Let's move on to Schalke versus Bremen. Schalke, poor Schalke. Poor Schalke. Now, again, another team without a manager after this result. But they did score a goal. So, small victories.
But they don't know how.
Yeah, I think they scored 10 this year in total. 10 goals in 2020. And they've conceded 10 goals in their last 2 games. So, that shows you the measure of the team. David Wagner.
11. They lost 8-0, didn't they?
11. Sorry, 11. So they've conceded more goals in 2 games.
You're doing them a service, Devo. You know what I mean?
They've conceded more goals in 2 games than they've scored this year. So that goes to show you just how bad Schalke are. David Wagner has lost his job. Had to, really. It's 18 games without a victory for him and Schalke. They've now brought in a new manager, Michael Baum. I don't know how you pronounce that.
Baum is good,
yeah.
Baum, as in tree.
Exactly. It means tree in English.
Okay.
Don't
Not
watch
the
that.
number, the plans. 3.
I'm learning. So he's coming. Can he turn it around? What does he have to do to get Schalke back to not even just where they were, but just a decent football side who could be competitive with the teams that they're playing against? Flo.
I don't know. Today there was a huge. I'm lacking the English word now, but a huge newspaper having a story with headline with the headline, and it was saying it's not a Traum, which means dream. It's Baum. So it's not a dream, it's Baum. So something like this, and that's what exactly describes what the Schalke fans are feeling right now, because they don't really know how to get him. He doesn't have any grip. He's very skilled. He did a very good job at the German Football Association with the under-18 national team. He has a good reputation for his tactical knowledge, and he was working as a PE teacher before he was a professional football coach. So he has a good reputation, but he had some problems in the end at Augsburg because he lost the team behind him. So he was sacked there because the team wasn't behind him anymore. And now the Schalke fans, they're always aiming for the big solution, like Ralf Rangnick would have been, for example. And it's a very difficult situation for Baum because he first needs to gain the confidence from his own fans, and first needs to deliver, and hasn't a doubt left. If he starts losing straight, he will be sacked very soon because the fans are going mad. But I believe he's a player with his tactical knowledge could be very helpful for the club, because if Schalke was missing one thing in the last 2 games, it was like how to behave tactically correct.
They defensively all over the place. When you see the goals that Bremen scored, especially the first 2. I mean, the third was a penalty, but the first 2, the defending was non-existent.
Horrible.
The first goal was
his own players closer to enemy defenders.
The first goal was so bad.
Yeah.
And like Schalke are without a win in their last 18 games, and it shows, doesn't it? And I said it on the show last week on Bundesliga game week 1, which you can go back and watch on YouTube as well, across all our platforms. Just saying. Schalke versus Bremen, second game into the season, should never be a 6-pointer. And it was. And I feel for Schalke. Schalke, I don't think a tactical change will make any difference. They're going to go down. I genuinely believe they're going to go down.
Well, one of the problems is they can't score goals. Where are they going to find goals from? I've seen they've just sold Bergstaller, who was getting goals for them, maybe not last season, but season before he was putting the ball in the back of the net. They've signed Pacienza from Frankfurt. He's not. And I don't think he's got a great goal scoring record in his career. Where are they going to get the goals that's going to keep them out of trouble?
Mark Uth ain't good enough.
Well, they have Vedad Ibisevic. The old gun is still loaded. Yeah.
I was going to say, if you put all of our ages together, if you put all of our ages together, I'm sure we are still younger than Vedad Ibisevic. I love him, but is old.
But do you know that he's playing quite for free for Schalke? He doesn't. Yeah, his wage is the minimum wage you receive as during to insurance reasons. You receive as a football player is 10,000 euros in the Bundesliga. So he just receives his 10,000 euros for insurance reasons. He donates them, and the only money he gets above that are the fees for success, for goals, for points. But as Schalke isn't scoring any goals or having any points, he plays for nothing. What's quite remarkable, because he was never seen as a player, or rather he was seen as a greedy player, and he was seen as a generous player.
Yeah. Just a quick word on Bremen. Obviously a massive win for them. They narrowly escaped relegation last season. So they'll be happy with that. And a hat-trick for Füllkrug.
Nearly correct.
Good enough. I'll take that one.
But this one is so difficult.
Umlauts on the U are really hard,
and the O with the points above, they're very hard.
The umlauts on U's are really difficult for English people to pronounce, and I'm going to try going on that one. But don't you find it funny? I just want to say though, don't you find it funny that Bremen were able to pick up a victory when Leonardo Bittencourt was back in the team? That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
I sense an agenda.
Bremen didn't win because they were so good, and because Bittencourt was so good. They win because Schalke is absolute rubbish. You know, the headline before the match was El Catastrofico. So El Catastrofico, not El Clasico, El Catastrofico, because those two teams, they're like,
to be fair,
very, very near to the bottom line of the Bundesliga.
Easiest hat trick I think I've ever seen in my life. I wouldn't even celebrate that hat trick if I was him, because it was literally a given. Let's move on swiftly to one of the biggest results of the weekend, one of the biggest shocks across Europe, and that would be Hoffenheim beating, and I say beating, Bayern Munich 4-1. It could have been more. It could have seriously been 6 or 7. And we spoke about Kramaric last week. He's probably the informed striker in Europe. I think he's now got 9 in his last 3 games, if you go back to the last game of last season as well. And it's not just against anyone, it's against Dortmund and Bayern Munich in that time as well. So were you surprised at this, considering the amount of games that Bayern Munich have played in a short space of time? Lewandowski didn't start. Sane came off injured. Gav, try and sum up this result. What were your initial thoughts?
I think Bayern went into that game with the highest level of arrogance I've ever seen in my life. You said that there was Lewandowski missing. They also rested Goretzka as well. Yeah. They dominated the ball. They dominated possession, Bayern did, but they didn't do anything with it. And Hoffenheim have taken more points off Bayern than any other team in the last 3 seasons. So they need to be more aware of who they're playing against. And most teams, when you come across the best team in the league, you treat that as a cup final. It happens a lot. Look at Watford last season against Liverpool. It's their biggest game of their season. So it's like, right, okay, we need to make sure that we're on it. We need to make sure we beat these. It doesn't mean that they're going to go on and run off into the sunset. But Hoffenheim are a very well-organised team. And look who their manager is. Hoeneß.
Yeah.
He knows his stuff. He's got family inside the club. You know, he came through the Bayern ranks. He understands what's going on. You know, so that was a very, very arrogant performance from Bayern Munich. And for me, Hoffenheim, it says 4-1 on the team on the score sheet. It probably flatters Bayern Munich, that score.
It could have been 6. Neuer made some good saves. A couple missed chances as well for Hoffenheim. Kimmich did score one of the goals of the weekend. Brilliant finish.
Beautiful goal.
We spoke about him last week. But I want to speak about Hoffenheim because we have to give them the respect they deserve. This isn't about Bayern Munich not being good enough. This is about Hoffenheim really taking the game to Bayern Munich and actually battering them. So what's been the reaction in Germany to this game, Flo?
Well, the post-match reaction was like that everyone tried to explain why Bayern lost. They said they were tired because of the Super Cup match. They said that Hoeneß really knows the club, so it was quite relevated that this wasn't such a massive win for Hoffenheim. But they really did a great way of playing in that game. And I think they're a little bit underestimated in this game because like in the newspaper, it's like all the newspaper are a little bit Bayern Munich orientated, you know, they want to be cool with the club, with Munich, to have maybe an interview or maybe an exclusive story or something like that. But Hoffenheim did a very great performance. Sometimes they lack the necessary respect for single results because in a whole season they're like not interesting enough because they're nothing. They're not meat nor fish, we say in Germany.
I was going to say, so they're vegan. Hoffenheim are a vegan.
Yeah, something like that. So they're not interesting enough. But throughout the season, they always have those single matches, which are really interesting, which have a great amount of quality during the match. And maybe a funny side fact about the coach from Hoffenheim is, you know, he's Sebastian Hoeneß.
Yes.
And he's the nephew from Uli Hoeneß, the Bayern president.
Right.
Yeah, but he was working for Bayern, wasn't he?
He was working as second team coach, yeah. But his father was also a great striker in the German football history. And he was also a very well-known manager during the beginning of the 2000s for Hertha Berlin and for Wolfsburg. But actually, no one in the German media is talking about him like he's the son from Dieter Hoeneß. Everyone's just saying he's the nephew from Uli Hoeneß. So, and his dad is like, what have I done to you? You know?
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Kramaric. He's on excellent form and another brilliant goal. His first goal was taken very well. I saw that it took 10 seconds from the goalkeeper to the point that Kramaric put the ball in the net. There's one touch move. If Bayern would have scored that, we'd all be celebrating.
We'd all be talking about it.
Yeah, we'd all be talking about it. It was a brilliant goal. But Kramaric, can he keep this up? Can he keep this form up? And can he be in amongst the best strikers in the Bundesliga by the end of the season? Gav?
Yes. He scores goals. He's a goal scorer. It didn't work for him at Leicester. And because it didn't work for him for Leicester, people will just be like, oh, yeah, he's not a very good striker. He's rubbish. Are we not seeing what he offers to a club? You know, his movement is brilliant. The way he works across the line, he gets in between those spaces. He will give and go and then find some space. He's not a lazy striker. He's got bags of energy. He can finish with both feet. He can head the ball as well. And Hoffenheim win penalties. And who's going to take them?
Yep.
It's going to be him.
Good at taking them.
Yeah, he'll score. He will score at least 20 goals in the Bundesliga this season.
Wow, that's a lot. And he had Boateng on skates for one shot, which Neuer tipped onto the bar. But it looked like Boateng. It looked like he was dancing.
He's done now. He's done.
Tricky player.
It looks like Boateng, like in the Champions League quarterfinal against Messi. Do you remember that game when he fell down?
Yeah, although this time he didn't fall over, but he was spun around like Kylie Minogue. Right, let's move on to our next game.
Before you move on, Devo, there's a question here from James. Can Hoffenheim make it to the Champions League?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They're like they're inconsistent, you know. They're like Bayer Leverkusen, but just a little bit below. Because we buy our players from Hoffenheim, and they they're bad.
They leave Hoffenheim and go to like Saarbrücken, or they go to Bayern Munich. It goes one of two ways.
It wasn't too long ago that Hoffenheim were in the Champions League, was it? How many years ago was it that
they were in
qualifying rounds anyway?
Yeah, this was a ridiculous final match day in the Bundesliga. Because it was our Leverkusen who was suffering that Hoffenheim finished fourth. They played against Borussia Dortmund, Dortmund third, Hoffenheim fourth, Leverkusen fifth. And we were like, okay, Hoffenheim is playing against Dortmund. Easy for us. We just need a win. We're in the Champions League. Hoffenheim will lose, no problem. And out of a sudden, Dortmund is always rubbish against Hoffenheim when they need to be good. They lost against them at home. And we were like standing there and we're like saying, oh, what's that? Unbelievable.
All right, well, we'll go from Champions League talk to, mid-table talk, really. I doubt either of these teams are going to do much other than that. Freiburg.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were going to put Leverkusen up.
No, I'm not that bad.
I was always preparing himself already.
I was expecting it.
Yeah, I wish I would have thought of that, actually, but I hadn't. So we're talking about Freiburg versus Wolfsburg. A 1-1 draw. Nils Pettersson scores again. And Josip Brekalo scores, the young Croatian midfielder who has a bag of potential. I like him. He's in my dream team. He's the only one who performs. Everyone else is rubbish. So, thoughts on this match? Freiburg, they scored the second most set pieces last season and scored again from a set piece in this game. Very good at home. They're unbeaten in the last 4 at home. Do you think Freiburg will... I mean, they're a small club. They're a very small club. Do you think they'll be in trouble at all from relegation, or is this a mid-table side and then maybe look to kick on, if at all possible? Flo, what's your thoughts on Freiburg's ambitions this season, I suppose?
Well, the ambitions in the public are always just to secure the class, to secure Bundesliga. But actually, from my point of view, they're at least a mid-table club. because they have a very good lead. They have a very good head of the club. They have a fantastic coach. And they always manage to develop young players from the region to sell them for a little more than they bought them. And they do the best out of their opportunities. So from my point of view, Freiburg is one of the most sympathetic clubs in the whole Bundesliga. Mm-hmm. And I'm always delighted, enlightened, I don't know how to say it. So it's always nice to see how they develop during a season. Yeah. And usually they never have any problems with the relegation.
Mm.
But and they have absolutely deserved it.
Yeah. They should have won this game, really and truly. They had the better match. Missed a really, really good chance at the end. Holla should have scored. Gav, I'm not sure if you've seen that chance where he's put
Holla. We're the boys. Hey!
Yeah. One of the worst misses I've ever seen.
He's got to do better there, man. He's
one-on-one.
Got to do better.
One-on-one with the keeper. The keeper basically says, shoot or go around me. And he decides to just stand in front of the goalkeeper and then just give the ball away, basically. Terrible miss. That could have been a massive 3 points for Freiburg.
Now, I like Freiburg, man. And they've got a couple of decent players knocking around for him as well. Santa Maria is just new signing. Good player, man. Like where they're getting? They're getting from Angers in France, I think it was. And
it's a record signing for the club.
Yeah, it's record signing, but it's not big money because Freiburg don't. Well,
they don't do big money.
No,
Bundesliga don't do big money, really, do they? You don't see someone. Oh, we've just signed someone for £100 million. It don't happen really much in the Bundesliga. So, Santa Maria, I was quite impressed with him because that's his first game in the Bundesliga, and he looked like he'd been playing there for 5-6 years. And hey, look, Peterson, man, he loves it. We spoke about him on Bundesliga 1.
Yeah.
He absolutely loves it. And Grifo is a great player as well. I think Freiburg, this season, I don't think it's going to be a consolidation. They finished, 9th last season? 10th?
It was around the middle, yeah.
If they finish 8th this season, that'll be fine. And if they can keep their core together and maybe get another player, because like going forwards, they're looking all right. Santa Maria, as I said, like he looks very comfortable. If they could get a more creative player to play in behind Peterson, maybe for another season, and then a decent defender, I don't see any reason why they can't get top 6.
That's the problem with Freiburg, because the good players they're leaving from time to time. Like this season with Robin Koch, who made his debut for German national team, now switched to Leeds United.
Yeah.
And
the goalkeeper,
Luca Waldschmidt, Luca Waldschmidt, Benfica Lissabon, Alexander Schwolo, Hertha Berlin. So they've lost 3 from their starting 11 players, and they always manage to rebuild them, to replace them, to rebuild the team, and still not be in danger of relegating.
That just shows how well the club is run, really. Because you got to work within your means. I mean, Freiburg even if they're getting big money for these sales. Spending big money doesn't always work out. It doesn't just mean because you've got money you should spend it. So I think that's a very good model that they have. Let's talk about Wolfsburg because it was not too long ago that they won Bundesliga. I think it was
2009.
2009, yeah. So in the grand scheme of things, it's not too long ago. Obviously, they're not looking towards that now. The team is not the best in the league. They have got some very good players. But they had a young goalkeeper or a reserve goalkeeper who made some very big saves to keep them in this game. Probably should have saved Peterson's header, to be fair.
I think you're being a bit harsh there, bro.
I think he should have. I know it was quite close, but he got a hand to it.
It's because it's Peterson and he can't do anything wrong. So therefore, like the goalkeeper, it could have been Jan Oblak, and I'll be like, nah, it's a good goal. It's a good goal.
No, a stronger hand, he could have palmed that away. But
Leno would have saved that.
Who would have?
Leno.
Well, that's the only thing he is good at, shot stopping. It's the rest of it he's rubbish at.
Yeah, good at that.
But I think Castells would have saved it. Personally.
Yeah, but Castells is like, I don't know, 7 foot tall.
with paper hands. Do you know what I mean?
No, I feel he would have saved that. But I mean, it's not the best performance from Wolfsburg. If I was a Wolfsburg fan, I wouldn't be too happy with that. I know Freiburg aren't a turnover at home, But Wolfsburg, what realistically, what would they be looking at this season? What's a good season for Wolfsburg?
Well, the ambition in Wolfsburg is always playing European football. So Champions League is maybe a little bit too high, but they always aim at playing at least Europa League, because with the Volkswagen Volkswagen Group behind them, they always have a lot of money. But that's also the biggest problem, was because the players they sign, they play there for the money and not for the vision or for the ambition of the club. And so that's why they have such huge differences in their finishing position in the Bundesliga. As you said, in 2009 they were champions with a great team. A year later they were like ninth. Then they needed a couple of years to manage again. 2015 they were second and cup winner with Kevin De Bruyne.
Yeah.
And the following 2 years afterwards, 2017, 2018, they played relegation playoffs to stay in the league.
It's crazy.
So now they manage again to come a little bit up, and it's like always like a roller coaster with them. They're going up and down and up and down. And they behave as good as the company gives them enough money. So if the Volkswagen company is good, they give a lot of money. The club is good, but at the moment they have lots of scandals around Volkswagen, lots of trouble. There is no money for the club left, so quite difficult times.
I want to ask a question. What you boys think? I've got my opinion of him. Weghorst.
Love him.
You love him?
See,
I love him because he's like he's dirty a little bit, you know. He's like a Dutch Diego Costa, something like that, but without the biting and spitting and all that stuff. He's big, he's strong, he knows how to score goals, he can play football, and he's very important for the squad in Wolfsburg.
I feel he misses too many chances for me. I think he should score more goals than he does. I think he's got potential. He's a good striker, but I don't know if he's going to elevate to the next level. I think he's probably just going to stay at a level where you can guarantee 10, maybe 12 goals a season. You know, that's about it. I don't think he'll ever hit the heights where he's banging 20, 25.
Well, I think he's a tidy striker, man. I really do. The thing is, I'd be mad jealous if Tottenham have been talking about him. I'd be mad jealous if he went there, but I don't think he'll be able to get into Arsenal.
I don't think he'll get many games at Tottenham. I mean, he might get a few off the bench.
But he's a good option, and like he's a very big boy, and you know, if you're whipping a decent cross in, if he's on the end of it, you expect that header to bullet into the back of the net, and I like that about him.
He would be a great striker for the Premier League, but from his point of view, I wouldn't change to Tottenham, because in Tottenham he will always be number 2 behind Harry Kane, who was a legend in the club, and who was a similar player in his way of playing, because he's not that big, okay, he's not that physical, but you know, he's good with his head, he's good in the box. He has all the attributes that Weghorst also has good, but Kane is better than everyone. So I wouldn't change to Tottenham. Maybe Newcastle or something like that could be a good club for him.
Newcastle don't do too well with strikers, so
Newcastle don't do too well with life.
Yeah, Joe Linton. So, anyway, we'll move on. Let's move on. We've got Hertha Berlin and Frankfurt. I kind of bigged up Hertha Berlin last week, and then this happens. So what do I know? You know, Hertha Berlin at home lost 3-1 to Eintracht Frankfurt. Not the best of showings for the home side. Boyata, who just became club captain, as you enlightened me to last week, gave away a really silly penalty.
What's he thinking? What is he thinking?
You know, for me, you can't give away penalties like that. You cannot. Your boy Andre Silva, another on-form striker. We was talking about on-form strikers. Andre Silva is in the form of his life at the moment for Frankfurt. That's now 10 in 12 since the lockdown, the restart from lockdown.
Let's not look at the stats, right? And let's have a look how the goals are going in. Anyone can do that. I'm going to come out of retirement and score those type of goals, right?
Well, you're not.
Andre Silva is a dead striker, and don't even start with Bas Dost either.
Bas Dost was on the score as well. Very good header.
I don't want to talk about this game, boys.
Okay, so we'll go to Flo. Flo, start us off. What thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it was a surprise, kind of, because everyone expected Hertha to win a home game. But I believe this is maybe a development we can expect from Hertha for the season, because as I mentioned last week, the week before, they lost in the cup against the second league squad. Then they won. Now they lost again. I believe the squad from Hertha and the individual players have lots of quality, but they still need to find themselves. So maybe during the next couple of matches, there will be some kind of those results, some massive wins, some massive losses. And during the season, they work it out to become better and better and better. And I believe that in the end of the season, they will maybe finish up like 5th or 6th or 7th. And the year above or the year later, they will be a strong contender for Champions League, but not this year. And Frankfurt, they played a typical Frankfurt game. You know, aggressive, very fast towards the goal, like simple goals with the penalty with Dost in the box and Silva. And talking about Frankfurt, we need to talk a little bit about Hinteregger.
Yeah,
because he was
another own goal.
During the week, he was quite of a big mouth. I don't know if you had heard about that.
It's about 950 own goals he scored now, isn't it?
No, I've not heard what he said.
Yeah, he was talking about Davy Selke from Bremen. He was saying like, I love playing against Davy Selke because I'm better than him anyway, and I love playing against players who are worse just to show them that I'm better. And 2 days later, he scores his 5th own goal in the Bundesliga in like 3 years. I don't know. And he only needs one more own goal to become all-time leading own goal champion in the German Bundesliga football landscape.
So basically, karma. What's karma in German?
Yeah.
Karma. Well, we have the same. We
That's the same.
We adapted it from the English. We're just saying like karma is a bitch.
All right. So another great goal in this game, Sebastian Rode. Some brilliant goals this weekend. Yeah, ex-Bayern man with a brilliant goal. I just saw here, just looked at my stat sheet. Frankfurt scored 3 goals from 3 shots on target in that game, which is efficient, but also that's poor from Hertha Berlin.
Classic Germany, efficiency.
Yeah, but also coming out of that, some bad news for Frankfurt. Kostic picked up an injury, and he is very important to the way they play. So hopefully that's not too bad for them. Just to talk a little bit about Hertha Berlin and a certain striker who done bits in Serie A, Piatek, not really working out for him in Germany at the moment. Why do we think that is, Gav?
Style of play. It's just not for him. Like, he likes to be such a free roamer. And, you know, when he was at Genoa, he had like the keys to the city almost. Do you know what I mean? So he was able to just play however he wanted to, and whatever he said, the rest of the players adhered to. That's what it looked like when he was at Genoa. That's what got him the move to AC Milan. And AC Milan, people say it didn't really work out from there. I disagree. 1 in 3. That's not a bad return for a striker. We keep forgetting that because Messi and Ronaldo have got these ridiculous stats that a striker, if you any play, we're going to talk about them later on in the show anyway. But Marcus Thuram and Alassane Playa, both great strikers. We will talk about the fact that they're great strikers. What's their record? 1 in 3. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't feel the style of play is suited to Piatek. I feel that if Piatek was to shine, he needs to be at a Leipzig. I think the way that Leipzig play, Piatek will be able to score a lot of goals there.
So he would be like the opposite from Cunha, who couldn't shine at Leipzig and now is shining at Hertha. And now even will make his debut for Salazar. He was nominated for
Brazil. That shows the level of Brazilian football, but that's another conversation.
That's another time.
Yeah. So let's move on to another new member of the Bundesliga, Arminia Bielefeld. Their first win since being promoted. A massive win as well. Champions of Zweite Bundesliga.
Zweite Bundesliga.
And the goal scored by Edmondson, who's the first player from the Faroe Islands to ever play in the Bundesliga. So poor goal if you're Timo Horn, though, by the way. Poor goal to give away.
Shocking goal, isn't it?
Shocking goalkeeper. Shocking. The other
loved it.
goalkeeper at the other end's done all right for you, Gav. Ortega,
yeah.
clean sheet.
Hey, look,
Made some good
yeah,
saves.
exactly. Like I've got the goalkeeper in between the six, but this result
Oh, we lost you.
is
Yeah.
low.
See, we lost you. They don't want to hear you. They don't want to hear your rubbish about your goalkeeper. Oh, you're back.
Maybe he didn't want to talk about his goalkeeper.
Yeah,
I thought.
the goalkeeper. Yeah, but like the fact that Cologne lost is great for Flo, isn't it?
It is.
Because you
also,
love Cologne.
Yeah, for sure. I love the city, but I don't like the club.
I think one time we're gonna have to do like whenever all of this rubbish ends and we can actually travel and be social again. We'll have to do like a German city tour breaks, and you'll just have to guide and find the best places to go in Germany.
You guys would love Cologne.
It's so cheap. It's so cheap to fly to Germany. We might as well just do the show from Germany every week. We'll fly out on the Wednesday and come back on the Friday every week. Work from home.
I'll organize a lounge in the Bayern Arena.
Yeah, I'm well up for that, mate. I'm well up for that.
Maybe ask my colleague from FC Cologne if he can organize a lounge in Cologne.
Yeah, I'm well up for that as well. They still got the goat that does the pre-game. They still got the goat mascot at Cologne. Didn't one die?
It always dies after a couple of years.
Yeah,
they called it Hennes, and I believe now it's Hennes the 9th. So even in the Cologne Zoo, he has his own area, and the fans come to the zoo, and they're like standing in front of his area, in front of his cage, and like, oh, Hennes, yeah, you're the best, mate. And one time, I don't know, Anthony Modest. No, it was Anthony Uja. He scored a goal.
I remember that. Yeah.
And then he went to the goal and was like grabbing him by the horns.
He's just thinking, I'm going to cover you later, mate.
Yeah.
Where do I achieve that?
So let's talk about Cologne a little bit. They haven't won a game in 12. Not looking very good for them. I think that's the first time in 21 games that they haven't scored, but they haven't won in 12, which would tell you that defensively they're not very good. Would you be worried as a Cologne fan about the drop, basically the dreaded relegation, Gav?
Yes, simple as that. Yes, they're not scoring enough goals. They're not shutting it out at the other end enough. You can't. When clubs get promoted, you don't know what they're going to be, and like it happens in Italy. It happened in Italy quite a bit. Do you remember Spal? They're still knocking about.
Yeah.
Spal. If you're a betting person, gamble responsibly, boys and girls. Obviously, you can't be a boy or a girl. You have to be a man or a woman to be betting, because we're over the age of 18. Anyway, with Spal, like if it would be like, oh, Roma at home against Spal. Well, I'm going to put that on as a Roma win, and Spal will come and do it. When newly promoted teams knock around, it's difficult. Arminia Bielefeld are on a unbeaten run. Was it like 18 games unbeaten?
They've not lost in 2020.
No, they've not. And yes, they've just come up. But Zweite Bundesliga is a difficult league. You've got former European champions knocking around in there.
England as well with Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
It's true though. The Championship is arguably one of the hardest leagues in world football. And it's because you just don't know what to expect, and it's gritty. And they're going to come up. They're going to shock a lot of people. They'll probably go down. Don't get me wrong, but they're not going to be like a Paderborn where they were like, oh, we're gonna get a draw against Bayern, against Dortmund, and then go, oh, I'm going to roll over against Augsburg. They're a very strong club, and so I don't think Cologne should worry too much about this result, but they should be thinking about their future and look at ways to bolster their squad.
Yeah, and from an objective point of view, not from a Leverkusen side, they definitely need to worry, because if you look at the last season, they had like 10 good matches in the whole season, like Schalke. It wasn't a good season. They were like 2 points away from relegation at the end of the season. But all the Cologne fans and also the head of the club is not able to look at the whole season. They're looking at these 8 games and say, okay, we were good back then, so we don't need to worry. But actually look at the other 25 games in the seasons, they were rubbish. They would have get relegated without that massive run in the beginning of the year to 2020. And now this way of playing continues, so they should be really, really worried. And maybe they should also change the goalkeeper. I don't know. What would you say about that?
I think the goalkeeper's fine, but I'm not being funny. It reminds me like Fulham. Like Fulham have got Tim Ream in their back four. You can't expect to survive if you've got Tim Ream in your back four. And I feel the same with Bornau. If you've got Bornau in your back four, you can't be expected to win. I don't rate him.
But they have like a world champion on the bench, with Ziele.
True. So what's he doing there?
All right, what's
the reason for being there?
Long story, maybe another time.
We're going to go on to your club, Leverkusen versus Leipzig. 2 brilliant goals in this game. Wow, 2 unbelievable goals in this game. I mean, how do you feel, Flo, about this result? Are you happy with this result? Were you happy with the performance?
Before the match, I would have been very happy with that result, because I was thinking about, you're playing against Champions League semi-finalists. Our squad is not complete yet. We had some problems in Wolfsburg. A draw would have been very, very fine for me. And during that match, after we conceded the 1-0, the team they got better and better, and it was a really good game. It wasn't a single step; it was maybe 2 or 3 steps in the right direction from the team. And in the end, from my point of view, Leipzig was a little lucky that they didn't lose that match. So I'm not quite 100% satisfied. But to stay objective and not wearing a red and black glasses, something like that.
Tinted specs there.
Yeah. One point is quite okay for the moment. We played against a very good team, and we should focus on the way how Leverkusen played. This would be very important if they continue. Then everything will become fine.
Well, I think you should have won, because Wirtz should have scored.
Wirtz definitely should have bagged.
Should have put that in the back of the net. You have to score those. How do you feel Schick did on his debut? Do you think he'll be able to bang the goals that Volland and Havertz that you lose with those guys? Do you think Schick can go some way towards scoring those goals?
Well, I think Schick can go way beyond Volland in terms of scoring goals, because Volland wasn't a striker who was just defined by goals. Volland was like a 25 or 30 scoring point striker, like 12 goals and 15 assists, something like that.
Yeah.
But I believe Schick is like a player who guarantees you 16 to 25 goals a season. Depends whether the season is good or not. And he had some starting problems with us because he was at the Czech national team. There was a corona case in the Czech national team, and he was in quarantine. But he becomes better and better now. It can be seen. He had his first match in the first cup round. Afterwards in Wolfsburg, he was as a substitute, I believe. And now it looked way better playing against Leipzig. He was able to keep the balls in the front. He has good technique skills. He could pass to his teammates. And the way he scored the offside goal was beautiful. It was a stunner.
Yeah, it's a shame. It was a shame that it was ruled out for offside. I am a big fan of Darren Bay.
Mm-hmm.
The goal was absolutely sublime. I have to say that straight up. But I want to ask about Leipzig's approach to the game, because I thought it was a really good game end to end, but I didn't feel that they had enough in the front line.
Edge. Yeah.
I'm not even saying it's a Werner thing. I'm just thinking that they're missing Schick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah,
they really do.
Schick knows how things work at Leipzig. So Sorloth ain't the guy. He is not the guy. But I feel like a target man. Now, going back to the Weghorst thing, do you think Weghorst should be looking at Weghorst maybe to lead the line for Leipzig?
How old is Weghorst?
27?
27, something like that. Yeah.
See, Leipzig, don't they only buy players under a certain age?
Yeah,
So their whole ethos is to buy a player under, I think it's 24 or something.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that.
24 is the highest age. They had one acceptation, which was, I believe, Kevin Campbell. They bought him from Leverkusen 3 years ago, and he was 25 back then.
Yeah.
So this was a single acceptation from that strategy. By the way, Bayern Munich just scored 1-0 against Borussia Dortmund.
I started already. Okay. Right, we'll move on to that in a sec. I just want to get a quick word on Forsberg, because we spoke about him last week and how integral he was to Leipzig when they were runners-up. And if he can stay fit, we've seen what he can do in this game as a tremendous goal. No goalkeeper in the world would have saved that.
No.
How integral will he be for them this season with no Werner? Are Leipzig basically just dependent on a fit Forsberg?
I think without Forsberg, we like Danny Olmo. What's Olmo's best position? So therefore, you can't say that Olmo's going to be the right person. Forsberg, we know where he plays and what he does. They haven't got that focal point anymore in Werner. The person that plays in behind like Werner, they haven't got the focal point like Schick.
Well, Poulsen picked up an injury as well, so we don't know.
Poulsen's a dead player, man.
Yeah, honestly. But he's integral to the way they play.
Yeah, I'll get that. But he's without him, I don't think they're going to worry too much. Defensively, I think they're fine. But Nkunku, he was on the bench, for instance. Whereas last season, I would have put Nkunku to start every single game over Forsberg, because I didn't feel that Forsberg had the best season last year. He was good, but he weren't great. So but this season, towards the end of last season and the beginning of this season, is showing how important he is. And without Forsberg, I think they will struggle. And that's where a team like, if Hoffenheim do have a good season, that's when they could potentially be like, right, we're in 5th place. Can we get into 4th? So.
All right, let's move on to another one of the biggest shocks of the weekend, and that's Augsburg versus Dortmund. And this is a shock because Dortmund usually tear Augsburg to pieces. They usually shred them to pieces. And to be fair, they battered them in this game. They just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. Augsburg scored from one set piece, and then Caligiuri had the freedom of.
Sorry, who did? Caligiuri?
Caligiuri, yes. Caligiuri. Yes, he's in your dream team.
Oh, yes.
Yes. He had the time and space to do whatever he wanted. Terrible defending from Munich, in my opinion. Not strong enough. Should Dortmund be worried, or are they just thinking, well, Bayern also lost, so we just can't do this again? What's the general reaction to this result in Germany, Flo?
Well, the first reaction was on Saturday evening or Sunday morning. It was like, that's exactly the games why Borussia Dortmund isn't able to become champion in Germany. Now, that's what we're talking about all the time. Bayern Munich usually beats those teams. And Dortmund, 1, 2, 3 times in a year, they have those games, they lose them. They lose points to Munich, and then they're not able to become champions again. But suddenly, or all of a sudden, Bayern Munich loses on Sunday evening. And we're standing there like, oh, what was that? But one interesting thing about that game is, to mention Caligiuri, he's like the personification of the nightmare for Borussia Dortmund. In his last 7 games against them, he was, I believe, responsible for 9 goals, like in assists and goals.
Wow.
So
yeah,
maybe it wasn't such a surprise that they lost against him.
I saw how cheap Caligiuri was, and he was one of the first names that was going into my fantasy team, and end of story. You know what I mean? But no, I'll see what you're saying there, Flo. But with like Augsburg, they are not going out there expecting to get victories against these sort of teams. Whereas Hoffenheim, they almost have like a expectation to a degree. It's like, well, we've beaten Bayern loads of times, or we've got points off Bayern loads of times over the last few years. So I fancy myself in this game. Augsburg, they don't score goals. They're very rigid. You know, they a lot of the times they'll go with two banks of four, or they'll play a 4-5-1, and it's a very rigid 4-5-1. Though their wide players don't go too far forward. You know, and when defending, they don't come too far back. So they're very balanced with their movement like that. And it's so difficult to break down. It doesn't matter how creative your boys are. Look how good Dortmund are. We know they're good. Look at the talent that they've got. And yeah, they battered them in terms of possession. But I think
they had a few chances.
Yeah, 2-3 clear-cut chances.
The Augsburg goalkeeper, whose name I can't pronounce, Dugout, he
was
made
good.
a couple of
That was good.
That was good, yeah.
But it's a Polish name, so we Germans we also struggle, you know. We can just pronounce our own names. All the other names we pronounce. Even the English names. If we would try, or most of the Germans, they would try to pronounce English names, it would sound like rubbish, horrible. You can imagine. You don't want your name to be pronounced by a German teacher, for example, Devo.
Well, you could try. Just a word on Dortmund before we move on. We heard they were a goal down in the Super Cup. They've got a lot of injuries. They should be a little bit worried. Berkey and Sancho, I think, have just got an illness. So I don't think they're going to be out for a long term. But Hazard,
has Sancho got an illness?
Well, that's
or
what
are we sniffing around the
transfer
move to Man United?
But Royce came out this weekend and said he's going to stay. He'd be here for at least a year. But I like it when players do that, because how do you know? Like, who are you to know the inside and outs of Sancho's transfer dealings? You're just like,
I'd rather a player come out and say that, because that's his mate, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, like, how do you're not in the room when these discussions are taking place. So how do you know? Like Marco Reus, I know you're the club captain, but if the club are saying to Marco Reus, like, listen, mate, he's not going anywhere, he's staying for a year. If I'm Sancho, I'm thinking, well, why are you talking my business?
Yeah.
Like, this is between me and you. Don't tell him to go down and tell the world.
Reminds me of Sunderland Till I Die. When when your man, what's his name? He went over to Bordeaux in the end. And he
the striker in the second season. Yeah.
And he was like, no, I'll just let my agent deal with it. Yeah, we're offering the same money. Yeah, I still want to go though, innit?
To
be fair, if you had the choice of Bordeaux or Sunderland, you'd go to Bordeaux, wouldn't you?
At least for the life quality, yeah. If you compare like French Atlantic coast to, I don't know, Geordie Shore.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not even Geordie Shore; it's worse.
I know. I'd much rather be in Bordeaux than look out to the Tyne every day, or the Weir, whichever river it is. Don't want to offend any Mackhams out there. Almost called the Geordies. That would have been even worse.
That would have been very offensive. Let's just move on to our last game of the weekend, and that is Borussia Mönchengladbach. I'm good with that one. And Union Berlin. Let's try and find the ticket here. 1-1 draw for Mönchengladbach. For me, that's a very poor result for them. You should be turning sides like Union Berlin over at home, especially. So that's a wasted 2 points for considering they lost their first game. You'd think they'll be able to bounce back. Gav, what were your thoughts on this game?
With you, mate. If you're at home to Union Berlin and you can't get a victory, you are struggling. They had player back. They had Marcus Thuram back. You've got to be winning these games. These are the ones that are going to make or break whether you are finishing in the top 4 or you're finishing just outside. So we look at there's a few shock results this week. Yeah, Bayern lost. Yeah, Dortmund lost. Bayern, tough result. Dortmund, they're away from home. Mönchengladbach are at home here. The goal scorer, to be fair, for Union Berlin is 23 years old. He must be the youngest ever player for Union Berlin because we all know it's a retirement home.
That was his debut as well, wasn't it?
You know
Yeah,
why he's so young? He's so young because he's a lone player from Freiburg. Because they
yeah,
all have all
exactly. His
and
brother,
exactly. The fun story is that his brother was a lone player last year from Freiburg to Union Berlin.
because I saw Schlottenbeck, I was like, oh, then is he still there?
Yeah.
He looks,
Oh,
he
so
looks
they'll
good.
they'll
He
get the
looks
mum or
good.
the auntie or something next week.
You know the meme with
Oh, Spider-Man.
with Spider-Man. It's like
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Exactly, bro. That's exactly what I thought. And then I see his babyface. I was like, babyface in comparison to others. Now you are a lot younger than what they normally go for. But nah, it was a good header though. It
was
was
a good
good.
header,
Yeah, it was good. I liked it. But no, Gladbach, they've got to do better here, man. They another team that were in control of the game, and the fact that they bagged as well. But nah, I'm
Couldn't get over the
disappointed in
line.
Gladbach.
Just a quick word on Union Berlin. They signed everyone's favorite Champions League finalist, Loris Karius. Loris Karius.
Oh,
What's his reputation like in Germany, Flo? Because in England, it's in tatters. He's a laughing stock.
you're so nice, Devo.
It is.
I believe in Germany it's better than England because during his time at Mainz he was seen as a quite talented player, and he was seen in the Champions League final rather unlucky with the elbow check from Ramos, and I don't know. Everyone basically thinks he's a quite good goalkeeper, but looking at his outfits, his hairstyle, and so he's also a person who is in a tabloid newspaper sometimes, especially because his girlfriend is like a kind of an it girl, but just in a bad girl way. I don't know, with lots of tattoos, and was before with a rock star and so on.
Okay.
And funny story about that is she comes from the east of Berlin, like Union Berlin, and her mother, no, her stepmother, something like that, was singing the anthem from Union Berlin. So everyone is like, is there a coincidence? I don't think so.
He's done it for his missus.
see.
Oh, that's nice.
Agent Frau Carius.
Something like that, yeah.
That's nice. Okay, so let's just round this up. We'll have a quick look at the Bundesliga table. Two teams with perfect records, and it's not the two teams that you would have thought. It's Hoffenheim and Augsburg, 6 points each. Really, it's way too early to look into that. We can't even see 18th at the moment. But 3 guesses for who it is. It's Schalke.
Poor Schalke, man.
Poor Schalke. Poor Schalke. We'll look quickly forward to the next set of fixtures. So game week 3. Here we go. First game is on Friday as Union Berlin host Mainz. Some could say that's a 6-pointer right there as well. Saturday's kicked off with Dortmund at home to Freiburg, Frankfurt at home to Hoffenheim, Cologne at home to Mönchengladbach, Bremen take on Bielefeld, Stuttgart take on Leverkusen. How are you feeling about that one, Flo? Do you reckon Leverkusen could get 3 points on the board?
They need to get the 3 points on the board desperately, because if you don't get those 3 points, the whole match from last Saturday against Leipzig will be wasted, because everyone will be just talking about not winning against a newly club in the league. So Leverkusen needs to secure those 3 points to move in the right direction.
Okay,
but it will be a very hard piece of work at Stuttgart.
Yeah, I think Stuttgart will be a tough game for a lot of teams this season, especially at home. The late kickoff on the Saturday is Leipzig at home to Schalke. Schalke with a new manager. Leipzig will be licking their lips, thinking we could get some goals on the board there. I'd be very surprised if that's anything other than a Leipzig victory. Wolfsburg at home to Augsburg. Can Augsburg make it 3 out of 3? Who knows? And then the last one, which has just been cut off at the bottom of the screen there by our Twitter handles, is Bayern Munich at home to Hertha Berlin. I feel sorry for Hertha Berlin. I really do. I think the backlash could be immense
It could be catastrophic. The thing is, there's 2 games there where I look at. I look at that Bayern game and Hertha Berlin. The fact that they lost this weekend is weird because I always look at Hertha. It's like if they're at home, you put your money on Hertha winning, and away from home, you put your money on Hertha losing. So the fact that they're away from home, their heads will be down after that defeat at the weekend. And then they've got Bayern Munich is not nice. But then Schalke, on the other hand, new manager bounce. It happens in every league and for every club. When a new manager comes in, they sometimes get result that first week, and it's like, oh, okay, we might be able to do something here. So who knows, man? It's going to be. I think this weekend is a lot easier to predict, but I still think it's going to be tough.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there might be 1 or 2 surprises there. I just got a feeling. That Dortmund are gonna slip up again. There's no real rhyme or reason for that other than the fact that it's Dortmund and they do that kind of thing. Right, so that's it from us this week. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to follow us on Twitter. The Twitter handles are at the bottom of the screen, and obviously don't forget to subscribe to the Football Dugout if you haven't already, and also to 2 Up Top Football if you haven't done so. Check those guys out as well. So thank you, Flo. Thank you, Gav. Any last words from you guys?
Other than the fact that Bayern are 2-0 up, nothing to
2-0
say.
up. Who scored for Bayern, by the way? Is it Dowski again?
Who's out there?
Tolisso was the first one, and I don't know who's the second. I can have a look. Müller was the second goal. Yeah.
What a player.
There you go. All right, guys. So that's been the Bundesliga show, and we'll be back next week with more Bundesliga action. Peace.
See you.